for the musicians and singers on this.
And how about for Melissa Suzanne and Serenity Ray? How beautiful. Hey, Step Into Love. That is a great song for this morning. Since this morning is about Wired for Love. And oh my goodness, that is the mom in our world. Mom is the highest expression of spirit made manifest, I believe. And truly, moms are wired for love. And so I believe that is our coding, that is in our DNA. And that is truly, when we begin to open up to that, able to feel the magic that comes with living in love. And I've shared this story with you about my mom, but I'm going to do it again. Just the fact that I'm sure that she figured out that I wasn't perfect, but she never let on to the fact of that. And so because she believed in me, I learned to believe in myself. And that is one of the gifts that divine perspective has, that Father, Mother, God absolutely sees the perfection and the wholeness of that which you are. And something Hafiz said, he was this just humorous 1300s Persian poet. And he wrote that we're all here at the perfect time, and we are all together in God's classroom. And the only thing left we have to do, my dear, is to stop throwing spitballs. I think, wow, I'm from that old age. What are you talking about? But you know what those spitballs are is the consciousness that disconnects that love wiring. Those spitballs that disconnect that love wiring are the ones that say you're not good enough. It is the self-judgment that says, you know what, you just got to struggle, or life is too tough, or there's not enough possibilities left, or you do not have enough money, or you are not good enough, or whatever those self-judgment things are going on within our thinking realm and our field of awareness that begin to sabotage the perfection and the truth of your being that you were born with and into. It is time for us to drop those self-judgments and begin to see our life as God sees it. Begin to feel the truth of who you are, which is already perfect, which is already whole, which is already capable. And as you begin to recognize the truth of your being, you'll begin to step forth with a new level of confidence and assurance of that which you are, which is spirit expressing. You get to be congruent in that expression. I had the opportunity to spend a couple days anyway, with 8 leaders from the Association of Global New Thought, and Barbara Marks Hubbard was there. And she was talking and downloading a bit from her December 22nd global event. You may remember Birth 2012. And she put this on 6 of the 7 continents. It was simulcast from around the world. And she started it in Australia. And she was saying that, the 22nd was, a big celebration since we didn't all disappear on the 21st of December. We made it. And so there was this birth of that which was new. And so went through the big celebration. And then she said she went through a depression after the birth. It was like, okay, so now what? I got the kid, we birthed. And she began to think about, you had the Generation X, Generation Y, you had the Millennium kids. And what she finally got is that we are now all, it's not just a sector, all of us is Generation 1. We are all part of the one generation where the inside is one with the outside, where we're living on one planet, and it is one human family, and it is one race, and we are in this together, and we are Generation 1. And as we begin to recognize that all that is necessary to support the healthy planet, and all of us being together in this world, is already there, ready to be downloaded, because we have been wired for love. But you are the one who must begin to see your life as God sees it. Begin to see yourself as that divine mother begins to look at you in your absolute perfection. And as you begin to resonate with that vibration of your being, you begin to be a clearer channel for which that love and God expression happens in this world. We talk about the Christ consciousness. We're not talking about a person. We're talking about an individual who exemplified a level of awareness that we call the Christ identity. If you're Buddhist, we'd say the Buddha nature we'd talk about, or, Krishna consciousness. What's interesting is that all the great traditions at the mystical level talk about what that oneness is like, and they all talk about the interconnectedness and the expression of love. And what I want us to get is that we are already wired for that, and to hook it up, we have got to just stop disconnecting it, and we disconnect it by believing in our mediocrity. Where in your life are you believing in mediocrity? Where in your life are you forgetting that you are the Christ identity, that divine vibration of spirit. You know, you ever take vitamins? You don't have to answer, but it's like a rhetorical question. But, you know, you take vitamins and they kind of work in your body, right? But, you know, if you stop and read the label and find out actually what they're supposed to do, you know, they're supposed to make you feel healthier, more vibrant, stronger bones, more energy. So you begin to feel that even more, right? Okay, for me, that's the way it works. When I realize this is what it's supposed to be doing in my body, it tends to do it better. When you come to recognize your divine expression, that you're a child of that almighty expression of life, that you are a child of God, that you're already perfect, whole, and complete, that everything that you need is already coded and wired into you because you are so loved that you have come into this world to share that identity. When I begin to recognize more and more that's what's my labeling, I begin to live it and feel it more. You know, you guys don't have to, but that's the way it works for me. But if you are identifying with your mediocrity, then I ask you to ask yourself this question. It's a home assignment for you. What mediocrity are you aligning with in your life? Just sit with that at home and ask yourself, what mediocrity am I aligning with in my life? You know, that part of you that is self-judgmental, that is not holding you in that place of perfection and wholeness, but is saying that you are less than. Well, but it's the truth. It's not the truth. There was this guy in the construction site. You know, the guys in the construction site, a lot of them, the guys and women, you know, they're very strong. But there was this one guy who was bigger and stronger than everybody else. And he boasted, he rubbed in their face, he let them know at all time, hey, I've been lifting weights since I'm 10, I'm stronger than any of you, I can carry the heaviest load, not be tired, on and he went. Finally, the scrawniest guy in the place just had it. You know, he just leaned on his broom. He was one who did the brooming, I guess. And he said, I'll bet you $50 that I could wheel a load all the way back to the back fence that you cannot wheel back. And the guy said, that's a deal. So the kid put out the $50. The guy shook his hand, put his $50 down, and the kid went over. He picked up the wheelbarrow, both handles, rolled it over to his nemesis and said, okay, get in. There are answers out there that are beyond what you might normally think is the answer. But are you open to it? Because if you're closing yourself down with the self-judgment, if you're not perceiving yourself as that divine mother sees you as perfect, whole, capable as a divine conduit of its expression, then you begin to get stuck. You begin to believe in that mediocrity. You begin to see yourself unable to do that for which you are capable of doing. What is percolating inside of you? What wants to give birth? You allow that spirit to impregnate you with that wonderful expression that is yours to bring into this world. You are living in this fertile realm. And so what is perpetually seeking to express itself in your life? What is perpetually seeking to occur as your expression in this world? And say yes to that. Now, I'm teaching a class starting Tuesday, a quick 3-week class on how to be a masterful manifester. I want all of you to be able to manifest in your life at the level of your choice. I'm going to be working on how to come more from not from absence, but from presence. Not from a lack, but from a sense of abundance. How to come from fullness as opposed to emptiness. How to come from that divine place of already being there as opposed to wanting to get there. It is a matter of consciousness. It is the shift. It is that Christ alignment. It is that Buddha nature. It is the truth of who you are, that you are capable of bringing forth that expression in your life in an ever greater kind of way, but you are the one who must say yes to that. You are the one who must give it space in your life and know that my life is God's life. Hey, that's a good one. Let's say that together. My life is God's life. Again, my life is God's life. Say, I'm spirit expressing. I'm spirit expressing. Again, I'm spirit expressing. Say, I'm wired for love. I'm wired for love. Again, I'm wired for love. How about I flow with the go of God? I flow with the go of God. I flow with the go of God. I can keep going, but I'm going to stop here. You're wired for love. You are that place of the God expression. And you become that place in which it expresses itself. You begin to give so you can live, and then all of a sudden you live so you can give. You give your expression of self. That's what moms do. I mean, it's like they just... My mom used to have an acting workshop in Hollywood back in the 50s. And I always just saw myself as she had prepared the stage for me to enter into this world and allowed me to be my own playwright, write my own script. And I was out there, and she let me have my battles and my tragedies, but she was always there to help me through it, always there to coach me and give me a kind word. And only after I had my son Trevor did I ever begin to understand the depth of her love for me. And as I grew, I began to see my mom not only from the eyes of a child, I began to see her as the woman that allowed me to birth myself. That's the saying is, having a child is like having your heart run around outside your body. It's like, that's crazy to be able to do that. But we must develop our own consciousness. As much as we want to fix somebody's world so the path is easy and straight and they don't have all the difficulties, that's part of what it is growing and coming to discover who you are, what it is you're made of, and to be able to go with the flow of God within your life and in your world. And I have all-time people ask for prayers, and so often prayers are, I want to change this in the world. I want to change this effect that is out there. I have parents say, Christian, my kids is going in for the physical. They want to, go into the military. Would you pray for their perfect performance in the physical checkup and their ability? And then I'll have another parent say, my child wants to go into the military. Would you please pray that they fail the physical? It's like the same experience. What is the right prayer? It is a consciousness. The healing that takes place in our evolution and when we're wired for love is the shift in consciousness. That's the only thing that really matters. It's not about changing the outside world. I've had somebody say, hey, pray, my business is going under. Pray that I have this influx of cash. And they didn't get it, and they went bankrupt, and they lost it all, and they started a new business, and they flourished, and everything was wonderful, which looked entirely different than what their original prayer was about. But yet when you're willing to trust that you are that Buddha nature, that Christ consciousness, that you are that, then what is showing up in your life is spirit unfolding. I'll have people say, I've got to go in the hospital, I've got to have this operation because of what's going on in the body. Would you pray, that in the hospital everything is for perfect physical healing? And then I'll have somebody else with a similar challenge in their body and say, hey, I'm going the natural, holistic route, no medical procedures. Pray for that. And I just keep coming back. What is important to pray for is that expression of spirit in the individual life so you can come to know your true nature and have it show up in your world in ways that are right, the ways that are appropriate for you in your self-expression. That the key is not to get caught up in the fear, because when you begin to have that vision of fear, and Ernest Holmes talks about fear is misplaced faith. Fear in the vision, you begin to capitulate between the world of effects and what is possible, between heaven and earth. And it begins to take hold, and what is necessary in that moment is to remember your peace, that part of your being that has never been violated. It is the time to sit with a spiritual practitioner who can remind you of your truth and to get quiet, which is why we start every service in the stillness. And we listen to spirit, so we can begin to see spirit in the point of question. This week, also with Dr. Michael Beckwith, and we were reevaluating AGNT, the Association of Global New Thought, and the success of the Season for Nonviolence. 16 years, it launches every year at the UN. It's in countries around the planet. Every governor in all our states has given proclamations. Hundreds of thousands in the data bank and connections on grassroots movement. But you know what? There's more to do now. It's reached its place of, the conventions we used to throw. Good, but you know what? It's like there's an energy that's subsiding. And one of the things he pointed out, he says, when you're at the peak, which was like the success of these events, not that they have gone down, they're even greater, but that energy and excitement, when you're at the peak, you can see other peaks of things you want to do, but you have to come down from that mountain. And sometimes coming down before you even start up the next one can look like and feel like that it's not that joy and not that excitement, but you caught a vision. Our vision, we're going to do webinars once a month that's called New Thought on the News. And anybody can dial in, no cost, we'll give you that connection. What we're now going to do is a spiritual film festival once a year in Santa Barbara. And then all of a sudden we've got these new ideas and this new juice, and it just reminds me that would never get disconnected. You are always wired for love. It just sometimes gets corroded with, oh, this is getting old, I'm getting tired, or I'm not good enough, or whatever judgments begin to slip in there. You have got to remember to see the perfection, that part of the Divine Mother that has never seen the imperfection or the challenge, but there's something new for you to step up to. Moms have a way of seeing that call forth something great in us. This one mom, Sherry Cohen, shared, she just cried when she saw her teenage twins standing there in their grungy, torn clothes. Long hair, one of them was orange, the other kid's was green, the earrings, the nose rings, the faux tattoos, the midriff, the 3-inch nails. And it was Passover. And they were going to the family dinner. And all the relatives were going to be there. And she just could hear already the talking and the heads turning, the chatter and all that stuff. And she thought, she'd stand at the door, that she could force them to go change. That, she could draw a line in the ground. You go, she could threaten their life, ground them forever, all those things. But it wasn't worth the battle. I mean, if they were 9 years old, she could tell them to march back up to their room and put on something more respectable. But she realized, this was respectable to them at this point. And so they went and they arrived. And she said, and nobody's head turned. Nobody said any comments. I mean, they looked a little awkward sitting at a table of 20 next to the small, perfectly polished, shiny-faced cousins. But they were totally participated in the songs, in the readings. And the son helped the little kids read their parts, and her daughter helped clear the dishes between the different courses. And they were laughing and talking and telling stories and history and pouring coffee for the elders. And Mom just sat back and said, it really doesn't matter what anybody thinks of my kids, because I think they're terrific. Hello. And so, she sat there just marveling. Sometimes you never know when those special moments are, whether it's a smile or a look. And she just wanted to get up from the table, go over and hug her little babies. It's cool. Their little cheeks like they were 9. You guys are so cute. I love you so much. But she held back. She just sat on the other side of the table and said, I'm going to tell them later on the way home how much their presence at this dinner means. Because their clothes are going to change as time goes, but they're always going to remember this. It's always going to be part of their life. I'm going to let them know how proud I am of them, how much I love them, how special they are to me. And the part I love about this story is she did tell them. And it just reminds me how important it is for us to express that love. With those that are in our world, to be able to do that. With those that are getting ready to leave our world. And to those that are not in this physical world. Because you are connected by love, which brought you here, and that love transcends time and space, and we are an energetic expression that is occupying this body, but I'll tell you what, that energetic expression knows love. It is wired for love, and that is the love that still connects you with that life force that has never died. And what is imperative is that you continue to take the times when you're given that to connect, whether in this world or not. We got this little note from a mom. I think she wrote it to God. It's real short. I just want to share it. It just says, "Forgive me, Lord." So I guess it's a prayer. I don't know. But it says, "Forgive me, Lord, for all the tasks that went undone today. But this morning when my child toddled on in and said, "Mommy, play," I simply had to say yes. And between the puzzles and the trucks and the blocks and the dolls and the old hats and the books and the giggles and the gadgets, we shared 1,000 special thoughts and moments and hundreds of hopes and dreams and hugs. And tonight, when prayer time came and he folded his hands and softly whispered, "Thank you, God, for Mommy and Daddy and toys and French fries, but especially for Mommy playing," I knew it was a day well wasted, and I knew you'd understand. You get to decide what is most important in your life. And if you choose to remember your connection, that you are wired for love, the magic that comes to whatever dynamic shows up for you. There was a mom and dad sharing with their young boy that they were going to have a third child. And the little boy said, "I don't want a new baby." Now, the parents, they had gone through the sibling rivalry of having a brother for him. And he somehow embraced Damon, his brother, and he loved Damon, and Brian and Damon, they got along just fine. But this time, Brian was putting his heels in. He was taking a stand. No logic, no reason, no persuasion could get him to change his perspective. And so Mom and Dad finally said, "So why don't you want a new baby?" And little Brian just kind of looked up at them with his big, wide, tear-filled eyes in their eyes and said, "Because I like Damon. I like the one I got." You never know how things are perceived. They're going to have their hands full, parents. I heard one child, you're a parent, 2 or 3, you're a referee. How my mom raised a couple boys and all of our friends, I don't know. But when my world gets too hectic at home or at work or in life, I just stop for a moment and say, I don't know how my mom did it, but she did it. And somehow, it just centers me. It takes me back to that quiet place to know, you know what? I can do it. This too shall pass. I shall have what it takes to get through this. And so, one day a year, we honor our moms. But I got to tell you, my mom had a way of making every other day of the year Kids' Day. And I can remember when Callie and I first got our home, my mom bought us this big, beautiful cushion leather couch. And a memory that I'll always have is the first time she sat in it, how our little guy, who was then Trevor, or still Trevor, but then little, just kind of crawled up her leg onto the couch, into her lap, buried his little body into her big body, and she just wrapped her arms around him, and he went to sleep. And that vision of my mom and my kids still sit with me. It's amazing. She probably got the couch for her just for that reason, but it is just that love. My mom had a way of teaching through example, which is why I learned to love. And when she listened with her heart, which is why she was probably such a great counselor for 30 years. And when she communicated from that special place, and she told me when I left home, remember, we are only a heartbeat away. But what I've come to learn since she left this world is that we're even closer than that now. And it becomes my responsibility to connect with Mom because she's always here for me. And the magic that comes from that is amazing. I mean, I assure you, I would still love to sit down on that couch with my mom. I'd still dream about putting my arm around her and hugging her and kissing her and looking in her eyes and saying, "Mom, I love you and thank you." But you know what? There's a new way of doing that. And it's just as warm. And it's just as special. And it's just as real. And it goes both ways. And so, moms have always put us center stage. But on this day, this is the day I say to all you mom, step into center stage. Take the bow that you so have earned and deserve. And listen to the bravo. We love you. Moms, you want to stand? So we can just say we love you. Bravo! And I would like